Hello, Nine Nation. I'm Trace Rocco. Welcome into the Sons of UCF Live. Guys, less than 24 hours until kickoff between South Carolina State and your UCF Knights. Let's kick off this hour with Adam and Mike. Guys, are you excited?
Trace, I spent all day on Amazon trying to find a device that would fast forward time 24 hours. Still efforting that. It may be in my cart right now, maybe a Prime purchase, but can't wait. We've been waiting for months and months and months and months. 270 something days, I think I saw. Can't wait to get rolling.
I mentioned this to Adam. I may not sleep tonight. I am that fired up. I wish the game was kicking off right now. But less than 24 hours, 23 hours to kick off. We're almost there.
We are almost there. We're going to spend a lot of this hour talking about the game, but a couple of stories of note this Wednesday, right? We're Wednesday this week, guys. I keep forgetting that. Wednesday because of the Thursday game. Ross Dellinger, Sports Illustrated, reporting that college football presidents Friday expected to determine the next evolution of the playoff, potential vote to expand in 2026, if unanimous, early as 2024. Adam, what do you make of this?
Well, so it depends on what they want to vote on, right? I mean, I think it's interesting this times up with the announcement today about TV contracts. ESPN's contract with them ends up in 2025. But here are the particulars of what they voted on last time, just so everyone's aware. So they're favoring a 12-team playoff. And what the initial proposal last time that did not get approved was the top 6 conference champions in rankings get automatic bids. And then the next 6 highest ranked teams get bids. And that's your 12. So that's interesting to think about. Does that really help UCF and the Big 12 cause, right? Because if you have Alabama as the SEC, but, you have Georgia and, who else know? I mean, NC State, who knows that year, right? In that same vein, how many spots are going to be open up for others? So that's what they're voting on. You like to see that there's positive momentum. I think follow the money on this one. I think it's no coincidence that a lot of money could be changing hands recently with TV contracts. So I'll believe it when I see it. I don't know if I love it yet. It's probably better than nothing at this point. But I'm still skeptical of what this will turn out to be.
Mike, as Adam just said, the other piece of this today, the Big 12 announcing it's going to enter discussions with its multimedia partners, exploring maybe changing its current agreements, which then could throw into flux Oklahoma and Texas in the timetable with that. You've been one certainly that have said, just as Adam did, you'll believe it when you see it.
Yeah, it's all about the money. I've said from the very beginning, I wouldn't be surprised if we never play Oklahoma and Texas. It's looking more that way now. After this comes out today, it's all about what the TVs want. They're finally getting everybody's ear. This is what's going to make the most money. Expanded playoffs. Get Oklahoma and Texas in the SEC now. And if they make it worth the Big 12's while, then they'll go along with it too. That's going to include an automatic bid for the Big 12. You figure they're going to be one of the Big 4 conferences if the Pac-10 is even around anymore. The ACC gets an automatic bid. The Big 12 gets an automatic bid. Big 10 and SEC. And then maybe we can still squeeze in an extra at-large. If you're talking about 8 other at-larges, it's possible.
It is certainly interesting news midweek, of course, but the big news for us, let's get back to it. UCF, South Carolina State, the home opener. We've been waiting months and months. Long time since the Gasparilla Bowl, long time since spring camp. And as we wrap preseason camp, begins now, September 1st, bounce house. Sold out season tickets, going to be packed there as long as weather cooperates. Orlando City in a lightning delay on Wednesday night. So you know how weather can throw things into the mix. But UCF, 37.5-point favorite. Doesn't seem like it's a question of winning, but what we're going to see.
Yeah, I mean, look, obviously first game, there's going to be some rust that you have to knock off. Shameless plug, we talked to Leger Duzable, that's available now wherever you get content, video and audio. And he talked about game 1 is just that opportunity for guys. They want to get out and hit another colored jersey, right? They've been hitting their teammates, their brothers for so long. They just can't wait to get out and play somebody else. But there's going to be some rust. There's going to be a little bit of nerves here and there. It's going to take some time to get to know each other. So while I don't know that I'm expecting a clean, no penalties, no turnovers, no execution gaff kind of a game. I think this is a nice tune-up opportunity for UCF. I don't want to discount South Carolina State. They have some talent on their team, so I think they're going to certainly show and try to do their best. But I think this gives UCF a nice opportunity to sort of see where they are. But I think you'll see some struggles, and I think that's just natural based on what time of the season we're in right now.
Will the weather play a factor in this one? We saw what happened last year. We couldn't even kick off until 3 hours later. Hopefully it's not a wet, muggy day. Even though with our running game, it really shouldn't affect us too much. But we still want to see JRP throw the ball around. We beat this team 38-0 the last 2 times we played them. Go back to 2008, it was only 17-0 ball game. So you never know which one of the teams they're bringing into town. I expect us to take care of business, get a lot of playing time for everybody, and move on to the Louisville game.
I saw just scroll on the bottom of the screen. Our chief meteorologist, what was it, Devin Page, just checked the radar. Looks like a lightning delay inevitable
Let's
tomorrow.
go to Devin Page in the Storm Team Center.
Devin,
here
I promoted you to meteorologist for the Sons of UCF. Fan choice on the close, GW Southern. Mike, I know you know them, one of your favorites. They're going to be the pregame concert series. All eyes, of course, going to be focused on newly named starter John Rice Plumlee. Head coach Gus Malzahn talked about his performance since being named starter.
I think anytime you name a starter, it feels different the next practice out there. And I think it's really helped our offensive guys, probably in our overall team, just who's going to lead us out there. And so the guys have responded very well to him. He's had an extremely good week and a half practice since we named, and expect him to play well.
We get asked this question later in the mailbag. I want you to be thinking about it. What do you want to see him do? How much do you want to see him work? I've been thinking a lot about that. You know, keep it vanilla with Louisville a week from Friday, but also want to see what he can do a little bit. And I don't know that I want to see him run too much.
Yeah, I think Gus is going to hopefully put a game plan in that allows him to, to exercise some of his strengths, but not do too much, right? I think a simplistic game plan allows UCF to get to their strengths, which is the running game, the running attack, nice, easy throws. I don't think you're going to see anything too terribly complex. I think my hope is it's a nice, easy game. I don't think he's going to throw for 300 yards or anything along those lines, but, give me a nice, 14 of 22 for, 215 and a touchdown and, 50 something yards on the ground. I think that's a nice ball game in game 1 for JRP. So I'll take that all day. My suspicion is Gus is going to make it safe, make it easy, focus on execution, focus on the basics, and then notch up the wrinkles for game 2 against Louisville.
Now, everybody expects them to keep the playbook simple, but at the same time, if you show a couple little things, that may even give Louisville some more things to have to prepare for. I wouldn't be surprised if Gus throws in a little surprise, and then from there, add a wrinkle to it. So you give them one formation with a little trick, and then the next week you set up the same way, but you do it a different way. And I wouldn't be surprised if there's something like that tomorrow.
That's interesting, Mike. All right, let's get to it. What are your predictions for the game? Final score. We'll be able to replay this and see who's most accurate. Adam.
Yeah, I forget what I said on the podcast. I should really start writing these down. Did I say 38-0?
There's some history in that number.
I know. And that's why I went there. I changed my mind, though, because I saw the spread was 37.5. I feel like this is a late, backdoor, cover situation. So give me 38-7. Give me a touchdown on the board for South Carolina State.
I was saying on the show earlier, I said about 5 scores, 35 points. The closer we're getting to kickoff, the more excited I'm getting. I think we blow these guys out. I think we put a lot of points on the board. As long as there's clean weather tomorrow, I think we get into the 50s. How's that? Give me 55-3.
55-3. I like a lot of field goals. Put me down for 41-0. What is the comment? I missed. What was the comment there?
You're in your game night hotel. The night before the game, usually the team stays in a hotel.
My cold backdrop for this week's show, as I am on the road for work purposes. Put me down for 41-0. Gonna have a 40-plus yard field goal from Daniel Barsky to make us feel good going into Louisville. All right, season predictions. I know, Mike, 12-0 and all that. Adam, you first. Realistic. What do you see him doing?
Yeah, I think I did this in a few of the shows. I've got 2 losses. I don't know where they are. I don't know where they come from because I would not have said Navy last year as a loss. I've got 2 on the schedule. I don't know where they are yet. I think we have the tough games against Louisville, SMU, Cincinnati. I think those are going to be tough games. Obviously, we know about already. I've been saying all along, I'm on the watch out for Memphis train. Crazy things happen when we go to Memphis. I can't explain it. People flipping end zones. It rains. It pours. Trace has a friend in the conference room. Apparently, there's a lot of things that happen in Memphis. So to me, Memphis, just keep an eye out for that. I think those are the 4 games that I'm really concerned about.
Yeah, you expect me to say 12-0. I know. I'm not going to say that. I'm going to say 14-0 because you got to count the conference championship game and the bowl game. Now, it would be 15, but we know the system's set up against us. We're not getting into the playoff. 14-0, nothing less.
Put me down for 10-2. Louisville, not convinced that the Knights are going to beat Louisville, and a road loss. either East Carolina or Memphis, one of those two. Let's talk more about the Knights. Let's talk more about this game. Friend of mine, Drew Johnson, he graduates from UCF this coming December, Bachelor of Arts in Print and Digital Journalism. He is covering the Knights for Elite Empire Athletes and Inside the Knights. Busy guy. Drew, welcome into the Sons of UCF Live.
Yes, sir, man. Thank you for reaching out, Trace. You know, I really respect what you guys have done with this podcast and what you do for the UCF community. So thrilled to be on the show tonight.
You're also setting the tone for future guests. Future guests need to come on and suck up right off the top.
I'll just keep it real.
We've been following this John Rice Plumlee story all camp. Were you amongst those surprised that Mikey Keene not named opening game starter?
Well, I kind of thought John Rice fit Gus Malzahn's offense a little better than Mikey Keene. I mean, we all watched what Mikey did last year. He kind of willed UCF to 9 wins during this offseason. He's put on the weight. He's gained that confidence and, a relationship with his receivers. But, man, John Rice I just feel like he provides that X factor. And he kind of reminds me of that Nick Marshall, Cam Newton type mobile quarterback that Gus Malzahn likes to use in his offense. So I'm excited to see what he can do, especially with the deep running back group.
Plug for you. You've got an article on John Rice up now on the Elite Empire Athletes website.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah, in that same article, you talk about transfers, Drew. And one of the other names, you kind of list out your top 5 impact transfers. The other name I saw on that list that kind of intrigues me is Lee Hunter. He's not a guy we're hearing a lot about. He's in one of those or positions on the depth chart. A big boy out of Auburn. A lot of guys wanted him. What made you pick him as one of your impact transfers for this year?
Man, Lee Hunter is kind of he's a raw talent right now, 6'4", over 300 pounds. But he's a ferocious guy, man. He's a nightmare. He's going to bring double teams. He's good with his hands. He's got a quick first step. I was surprised to see him that low on the depth chart. But, man, I know that Lee Hunter's going to make an immediate impact. He didn't get to play, like you said, he didn't get to play much at Auburn. So he's coming into the AAC. He's going to be an impact player.
We know the big names on offense, JRP, Bowser, O'Keefe. Give us somebody that nobody's talking to coming into the season, but you expect to have a big season.
Well, I think Kobe Hudson's going to have a great season this year. He led Auburn in receiving yards last season. Coming over with this offense, you're going to have some eyes on Ryan O'Keefe and Javon Baker, of course, Kamori Gamble and Alec Holler. So I think Hudson's going to shine in this offense.
What is a position group that concerns you that's not the question marks around quarterback or all of the questions we've had about linebacker? What's something else that you're still not sure about?
Well, defensive, I could say the defensive front group. They lost Landon Woodson. I kind of thought he was going to be a guy to come in and provide a little bit more depth with Josh Elliscar and Tremont Morris-Brash. But losing him, it's going to be a big thing. But they still got some guys that with KD McDaniel to come and help with that. But I think defensive end group is one that's that we need to focus on instead of the linebackers. We all kind of knew the linebacker group was a little suspect, but I think it looks better when you take a look at that depth chart.
Drew, what do you expect from Isaiah Bowser? Obviously, he came back for his 6th season. He hasn't really done a lot in terms of scrimmaging and whatnot. There's some thoughts he may be on a pitch count. Obviously, we have a deep running back room. Where do you think Bowser fits in? What's a sweet spot for you in terms of carries you think Bowser will get each game?
Man, Gus Malzahn's going to have an interesting time this season using Isaiah Bowser. Kind of last year, we kind of seen him get beat up a little bit with all those carries. But I think Isaiah Bowser is going to have a really good season this year. He said he come back for his 6th year, heading into the NFL. I think he's going to have an impressive season. Johnny Richardson as well, like really deep. So there's other guys you got to key on. But I think Bowser is that Bell-type running back that can do it all. He can block. He can catch out of the backfield. And I think a carry limit would be around, I say 25 carries, man, 25 to 30 carries, because you got so many guys. And not only the running backs, you can use Ryan O'Keefe. You can use Kobe Hudson or Javon Baker in the run game as well. So we might see some of those carries go down a little bit.
On our show, we've been getting into this app called Prize Picks. You can do over-unders on a lot of specific players. I'm going to give you a couple categories. You tell me who you think is going to be the leader in those categories this year. On the defensive side, interceptions. Who's going to have the most picks?
Devontae Brown.
Sacks.
Tremont Morris-Brash.
Who scores the most touchdowns?
That's a tough one.
Stumped him.
John Rice Plumlee, passing and rushing.
All right.
Ooh.
And what about the return game? Who's going to be our biggest return guy?
Man.
Quick return and punt return.
Just talk about that return game real quick. I kind of want to get you guys' opinion as well. How do you feel about starting your star players, in that receiving game? I kind of thought we would see a Quan Lee or an electric like Townsend type guy. But O'Keefe, they're back there. They're your reliable guys. They're your star players. They're your athletic guys. So I'm not too fond with having those guys back there. What about you?
Well, I asked Coach Malzahn that during the Monday availability, and he wants speedy guys out there. He wants his fastest guys. You mentioned Quan Lee. It's also risky to put a true freshman in that position. The one that is interesting to me is Devon Wilson on punt returns.
Yeah, same, Trace. I was like, I don't know where they're going with that, but like you said, you do want a reliable, experienced guy back there because special teams is an important part of the game.
All three phases, I heard Gus Malzahn say.
I've heard that
Monday.
somewhere, yeah.
Harken back to some previous coaches. You mentioned now John Rice Plumlee, you see him being the leader in touchdowns, rushing, and passing. 1,000-yard rusher?
Well, we've seen him go over 1,000 yards against the SEC type competition. So I think he brings that mobile, that athletic, that speedy, that white lightning ability. I think he brings it over to the AAC and goes over 1,000 rushing yards. I don't know. I kind of watched one of you guys' show. I don't know about over 12 touchdowns, but I say double-digit touchdowns with over 1,000 rushing yards. Yeah.
So do you see him being leading rusher in terms of yards?
Yes, sir. I think so, man. I really think so. I know Johnny Richardson led the running backs in rushing yards last year, but I think John Rice Plumlee is just an X factor. He's going to be using that RPO. He's going to be running a lot. I think he leads the team in rushing yards this year.
So one more here. 2 1,000-yard rushers on this team then? If Plumlee is one, do we have one of these running backs rush for more than 1,000?
Another good question, Trace. I don't think so, man. I think you're so deep. They're going to have to distribute those rushing. So you got Bowser, you got Richardson, you got Mark Anthony, you got RJ Harvey. Like I said, you got to give the ball to O'Keefe. So I don't know if we see 2,000-yard rushers, but I'm expecting John Rice to go over 1,000 yards.
All right, Drew, as Trace it off the top, you're still obviously at UCF. You're still pursuing your degree. What's the vibe like on campus with the students right now? Obviously, a lot of expectations coming into this season. Last year, a 9-win team beat the Gators. What's the vibe like around campus? What's kind of the energy from the students that you have a chance to interact with?
Yeah, I think when we seen the season tickets get sold out, I think there's a lot of enthusiasm. There's a lot of excitement heading into this season. After beating Florida and all the trash talk that's coming in here, I think the fans are looking for a conference championship. This is probably the deepest team UCF has had, since that 2016, 2017 year, 2018. So I'm thinking the fans are really excited and they're coming to show this Thursday, man. We'll see.
What do we got to do? I know there's a lot of every year people harp on the students not staying for the full game. What do we have to do, you think, to keep the students in the seats? I know this Thursday, right? It may be a blowout. People are going to be hanging out all day. Weather's going to be bad. But what's your vibe? What's your take on getting students to stay for a full 4 quarters?
Maybe doing something interactive. I know last year that Boise State game was kind of brutal, so a 3-hour delay. But maybe doing something interactive with maybe Nitro or something where they're having a student out there. I know during the NBA games where they do the halftime thing where they shoot from the half court or whatever, they win something. So I think getting a little interactive with the students and the fans, that'll be a positive.
2 words, Drew: Frisbee dogs. Frisbee dogs during delays.
How about them just selling beer now? You think a lot of teams are going to stick around? There's beer in the stadium now.
There you go, Mike. How do y'all feel about that? Y'all been there for a long time, man. Y'all been covering UCF.
Hey, now, careful, young guy.
No, y'all the OGs, man. I look up to you guys for sure. So, but how do y'all feel about that transition, being able to drink at the stadium?
Hey, when we were in the Citrus Bowl, they sold beer back then, and we used to drink in the student section, and it caused a lot of fights. There was a lot of problems, which I'm kind of expecting to see maybe at some point this season. But me as a Cabana holder, I had those tickets, and we were the only place you could get beer for a while. Now everybody can buy beer. I'm not sure exactly how I feel about it. It's kind of brought the value of my ticket down when I try to resell them for games like this.
Any home games y'all are looking forward to?
Next week, Louisville.
If you watch this show, just careful with the words hot dogs. Don't bring that up. Okay, that's still a Drew, you sit up in the press box. You've been in the stands. Preference for you? You like him for different reasons?
I'll do the hot dogs. I seen you beat up on a couple guys. I like hot dogs. You know what I'm saying? I can do hot dogs. I won't get beat up tonight. I like hot dogs.
But what about you? In the stands or in the press box?
I'm
What
press
do you
box
prefer?
guy, man. I went to the spring game, and I don't think I've sweated that much in a while. So it was brutal. So I'm a more of a chill, relaxed guy in the press box.
Shh, don't tell Mike that there's air conditioning and hot dogs. There's all kind of
Pizza,
stuff.
refreshments, all of
The
that.
press box.
Mike would get kicked out of the press box so fast. It's not even funny.
It's too bougie. I need to be with the
Yeah,
people. I need
Mike's
to be in
with
the
the people.
cabana. I need to be with the drunks and the hood rats in the cabana.
With the drunk. Drew, I know obviously you're working with Elite Empire, you're working with Inside the Knights. A lot of great coverage around recruiting right now. Obviously, Gus Malzahn and that staff is really on a hot streak with recruiting. A couple of 4-stars have committed right now. They haven't signed, but they've committed, so that's at least a good sign. Gus has talked about putting that fence around Orlando. What do you think is really helping UCF make those inroads now? Why, in your opinion, are we getting these kids to potentially stay home right now? What's Gus doing differently that other coaches didn't do?
So I think Gus kind of brings that CEO mindset to UCF that it hasn't seen ever, you know what I mean? And him establishing those connections with local high school coaches from, Apopka, Seminole, Osceola, even coming down to my neck of woods in Lakeland High School, So I think he's doing a hell of a job establishing those connections and bringing that CEO type mindset to UCF. I don't think we saw that with Josh Heupel, and when you win a 4-star kid from Ohio State and et cetera, I think that says a lot in itself right there.
You heard our predictions before while you were waiting. I'm not scared of anybody in this schedule. I think we can beat everybody. Sure, there may be a team that gives us a tough one. Who are you most scared of, and what's your prediction for the season?
So I think UCF has a favorable schedule this year. Losing the 4 losses they took last year, they have 3 of those games at home, the Louisville, SMU, and Cincinnati. So I think that's a positive. But I think, of course, Louisville's a game they can drop, and Cincinnati is going to be that team where they could lose to as well. SMU's deep as well. But I think they go 11-1, and I got them dropping the conference championship game to Houston right now.
You talked about it in terms of what student vibe is for you. If they don't make that conference championship game, they don't have to win it, but if they don't make it, is it a disappointing season?
Man, it's tough to say a disappointing season, but I think so. I think the fans, from a fan standpoint, they're going to be disappointed if they don't get a conference championship. Man, this is, like I said, this is probably the most physical, experienced team. You guys have seen it since they had in a while, deep as well, very depth chart. It's heavy. So I think the fans are expecting a conference championship, but reality, like we seen last year, the injury bug's a thing. A lot of things has to go right for a team to win the conference championship. So if they can stay healthy, they can win it all.
So you graduate in December. What's the plan? You seem to be laying the groundwork, building that resume.
Yes, sir.
Doing a lot of articles, writing for a lot of sites. What's the plan?
Yeah, Trace, like when I first met you, like I've always told you, man, I'm a sponge in this game, a lifetime student. What I want to do is just continue growing, continue developing my brand, networking with guys like you, Adam and Mike, and surrounding myself with OGs in the game and get my foot in the door. So that's helped me so far. And I'm really proud of myself and my journey. And that's what I expect to do.
It's pretty strong. Begins with compliments, wraps up the segment with compliments.
And he dressed up too. He's got like a button-down shirt on. I like this kid. I like him already.
Thank you, guys.
Drew, if you watch the show, sometimes, the fact that Mike has a shirt on, whether it has sleeves or not, is a completely different matter. But he'd throw us all for a loop with a button-down shirt. So
no, I like to feel good, man. Confidence is key.
I like it. I like it. Drew, enjoy your time in the press box and covering the Knights for Elite Empire athletes at Inside the Knights and all of the other projects you have going on. And I look forward to seeing you soon.
Thank you guys for having me on, man. Continue the good work. Thank you, guys.
Appreciate you, Drew.
Peace.
All right. Strong. Also, a bit of an audition here in case we need a fill-in. What do you think?
I almost didn't make it on time tonight again with softball practice. You never know. He could always take my spot if we need him.
We could have Drew if you're not there till 5 or 7 or 10 after, we just have Drew in there. Then you come in, tap him on the shoulder. All right, you out of there, Drew. Mike's here now. Okay, we've gone to the bullpen early. We began with our closer. Then
an opener. They have openers now.
Opener. Yeah. All
Yeah,
right,
I think it's just great to get a young perspective, though, Trace. Obviously, he's close to the fan base. He's close to the school. I think it's just great to get some unique perspectives. Glad to have Drew on. Hopefully, we can find ways to catch up with him later on down the road, too. Everyone in the chat seems to like Drew, so Drew's made some fans tonight.
Well, he works hard, and I wanted to invite him on the show, give him a little profile, and he's covering the team and in the trenches, and
I did want to get back to one business. I didn't want to. One thing we glossed over quickly. I want to get back to this. Maybe we can talk about this later. I didn't want to look past this comment from Mario.
Mario. Poll question that I asked this week: which of these references, instead of UCF, fires you up the most? Central Florida, Golden Knights, or UFC? Golden Knights with the win there. What about you guys? When you see it, what triggers you the most?
Honestly, I'm really, I guess, on the minority. I'm going to take Central Florida because I feel like UFC is a slip of the tongue, right? We've all done it. You get your words mixed up. You're talking fast. Jim Rome dropped a couple UFCs the other day. That happens. Golden Knights, I don't take as much offense to that. That was our name at one point. There's the Vegas Golden Knights that's out there. I can see where you get confused. Central Florida, nobody calls it Louisiana State. I think we're UCF. I think Central Florida to me seems like either you're uneducated about our program or you're trying not to, you don't quite know how to refer to us. So I take more offense in Central Florida, even though we are technically in Central Florida.
Yeah, that is the name of the school. It's the University of Central Florida. To me, it's UFC. I don't know why. It just bothers the heck out of me whenever I hear somebody say UFC. Sometimes I think they do it on purpose. And sometimes, it is just a typo or whatever. They don't mean to do it. But Rome didn't even correct himself. He didn't even notice. He just kept on rolling right through. Yeah, UFC. I think he did it twice.
Meteorologist Devin Page agrees with me, by the way.
I like some of the write-in ones where whenever it mixes up UCF and USF, that fired up some people. I agree with them on that.
Robert's got a good one too. We don't see this one as much, but C. Florida, that actually was annoying too.
What I think is interesting is that UCF's had this brand for so long. Was the other one so ingrained, even though it's in the notes, even though UCF talks about the current branding so often, the other one was so ingrained after such a short period of time that all these years later, broadcasters, print journalists, they go back to, I think they do it on purpose, just to aggravate Night Nation. Adam, you mentioned with the shameless plug off the top of the show that we had opportunity to speak with Knight Great, former defensive standout, NFL veteran, part of the broadcast crew of this South Carolina State at UCF game on ESPN Plus Thursday at 7. Leger Douzable. What was that conversation like? I haven't had a chance, been busy with work-related stuff, but it's on the Sun's YouTube channel right now.
Yeah, YouTube podcast feed. It was great to catch up with Leger. Obviously, he kind of walked through some of the main talking points and what he saw. I think this is the most interesting clip I'm going to play for you all now, and I'm going to play the full 45 seconds because there's a hot take in here. Now, if I cut it after the hot take, you wouldn't quite get the explanation. So, Mike asked Dews to kind of help us understand what he thinks a successful season looks like. I want you to hear this whole 45-second clip and Dews' answer.
Conference championship, 100%. This team is built to win a conference championship. And honestly, this team is built, and I don't even like saying this, they could go undefeated if they play the way they're supposed to play. If everybody can stay healthy, because that's always a big thing in football, everybody staying healthy. But if this team puts it all together, right, and plays the way they're supposed to play, I have no doubt in my mind this team could go undefeated because they have the juggernaut Cincinnati at home, and I believe SMU at home as well, too. And, the nice record at the bounce house speaks for itself. So if they do everything they're supposed to do, maybe most likely play Houston in a championship game. We don't know where that will be played at, but this team could potentially go undefeated. But at bare minimum, I think it's conference championship or bust for this team.
He said,
Mike,
could.
You've been saying that for a while.
He said could, so I want to make sure you get the context of what his entire thought process was.
He's taking it even further. I say at minimum we have to get to the championship game. Minimum. Win it. Once we're there, yes, we're gonna say we have to win it. But anything can go wrong in one of those games. The last two championship games could have gone either way. We could have lost those to Memphis very easily. So get me there, and I will say this is a successful season. Win that one, win the bowl game, and I'm extremely happy.
You can find that full interview with Leger Douzable on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel. Of course, the Knights, they open with South Carolina State. Let's get to know more about the Bulldogs. Let's welcome in Ernest Robinson, voice of South Carolina State football. 19th season doing play-by-play, 30 seasons. The Coaches Show does men's and women's basketball too. Ernest, it's been good exchanging text messages with you the last couple of days, and welcome into the Sons of UCF Live.
Thank you. Nice to have me. That just means I'm old.
Veteran experience. We got called OGs, old guard there by our previous UCF student guest. So we welcome you in. Tell us more about this South Carolina State team. They're coming off a successful season a year ago, and they look to build momentum going into this season.
Well, I think we did. It's a very young football team. It's a young, experienced football team. I think that was the thing that came about. We really benefited from COVID. And when I say benefited from COVID, I mean the extra year from the standpoint of kids getting experience. So when you look at us, we're very young, but we're very experienced. Last year, we started slowly. I thought we played pretty well at Clemson. And the game was, we were in the ball game, kind of settled down. And toward the end of the ball game, they were still throwing it late into the third quarter, into the fourth quarter. So the score ended up being a lot distorted. That happens a lot of times when you are a football championship subdivision team and you're playing Division I opponents. They want the final score to be kind of like it was between Florida A&M and North Carolina the other night, but the final score is not indicative of how well Florida A&M played in that game. We're hoping to show well. Our kids believe they can do anything, and we're going to come at them and get after them. If we can stay in it early on, the longer it goes, the more uncomfortable folks will get at the bounce house.
Ernest, doing some research, talking to Leger Douzable, who would be on the ESPN Plus call. One name stands out. Shaq Davis is a name that continues to come up, a 6'5" receiver. How good is this kid? How much of a problem do you think he's going to be on the field for the Knights on Thursday?
Well, I think you said it all when you say he's 6'5". That's a problem for anybody receiving a guy with good hands. He's a really good athlete. Last year, to tell you the kind of athlete he was, after the football season, they asked him to come out to the basketball team, and he actually played basketball for South Carolina State. He's a really good jumper at 6'5". He went to the same high school that A.J. Green went to, so he's kind of cut from that mode. Learning to be more of a route runner and does run good routes. But, Shaq would not be Shaq without our quarterback. We've got a really good quarterback in Corey Fields. He's a really good arm. He can really sling it. If we get time in the pocket to throw the football, it can be a problem. He's got some interesting receivers. A kid, Richard Bailey, who's a slot receiver, actually went to high school with Corey Fields. So when he gets lost and can't find anybody, Richard Bailey's the smallest guy on the field. As a matter of fact, if you look for the guy who looked like he should have been in a Pee Wee football game, that's Richard Bailey, but he's kind of like Tyler Renfro in this offense.
Ernest, we've played you guys 3 different times now, 2018, 2016, 2008. 38-0 the last 2 times, 17-0 the time before that. 0 points in 3 games. Is there such thing as moral victories if you guys just get on the scoreboard tomorrow night?
These kids are different. They're not cut from that same mold. They think they can come in and win and play well, and it depends upon how the game goes. We'll get more confidence as we do positive things. I think positive would be the score. But I do think this team thinks that they can come in and win and shock the world, and stranger things have happened. Again, we're very talented along the offensive line. If we can control things up front, from the offensive line standpoint, we're young, but we're real experienced. And these guys that play in the offensive line have all played last year. So they've been in big atmospheres. They've been in larger atmospheres than what they'll see over at the bounce house. Let me tell you, Clemson's atmosphere is no comparison to what, should I say, Central Florida can't compare to Clemson from the standpoint of playing in front of a crowd. So we've done that before. I think defensively, what we've got to do is we've got to slow that run game down. We're most concerned about the quarterback Plumlee because he can run the ball so well. That could be a problem. We're not big defensively, but we got kids that'll get after it. We bring back 9 starters on defense and 9 starters on offense. The starters on defense, of course, was Durant, who went to the NFL, and the other corner is Zafir Kelly. But the kids who are filling in played a lot last year, so everyone's played an awful lot. I don't think the moment will be too big. It's just a matter of how long we can hang around.
A Senior Bowl invitee, Jablonski Green, defensive end. Tell us about him.
He's a man. He makes things happen when he comes into a football game. As he didn't miss the first 4 games last year. So when you look at his stats, And think about what he did it. He did it over the last 7 games, and of course in the bowl game. But he makes things happen. He deflects passes. He's a smart kid. If he can't get to the quarterback, he'll go up with his hands and try to make something happen. Try to create havoc along the defensive line. It's gonna be tough for somebody to handle one-on-one. But when I look at you guys up front, you're huge. You got some experienced offensive linemen as well. So it'll be a good challenge for Jablonski. But he's a good ball player, and he's gonna get after it. The kid on the other side, Patrick Godbolt, is not as big, but he's very, very quick. And I'll tell you an interesting story. The defensive tackle, his name's Brandon Tucker. Brandon Tucker started out as an offensive lineman. That's how you got a defensive lineman with number 65. He was a guard. And then during COVID, we got so racked on the defensive line that they asked for volunteers to go to the defensive line from the offensive line. And he came over to the defensive line and has been a starter ever since.
Ernest, we mentioned Shaq Davis. You mentioned Corey Fields. Obviously, Kendrell Flowers in the running back position as well. Describe the offense South Carolina State likes to run. What can we expect? Is it heavy run, heavy pass, a little bit of both? What kind of offensive philosophy are we going to see?
It's a little bit of both. It's kind of 50-50. It depends on what we can do up the middle. Kendrell Flowers is a strong runner inside. He actually, in the Jackson State game, had a concussion. Jackson State didn't realize that we didn't have any running backs after Kendrell Flowers got hurt in that particular ball game. So we played the entire second half without a really good running back. But we're much better at running back. We got Alex James backs who can spell Kendrell Flowers. Both those guys can run the football extremely well. Kendrell, of course, played at Wake Forest, rushed for like 887 last year, and he was kind of hurt part of the year. So, but Corey Fields likes to throw the football. He's a pocket passer. Now, one thing that could possibly happen, and I don't know if this is going to happen or not, but we had a quarterback before Corey Fields. His name was Tyrese Nick. Nick is kind of a Lamar Jackson kind of guy. He can run it. He can throw it. As a matter of fact, in the spring of last year during COVID, we actually had Nick in at slot receiver because he's a really good athlete. Well, Nick was given a 6-year. He got hurt last year towards Achilles in the spring, and so he can come back. He is just as good a passer as Corey Fields, but he brings the element of being able to run the football from the quarterback position. If you see number 3 come into the ball game, you can confuse him with number 2 because they're both small. But if he gets into the ball game, we can do some creative things. And one thing that what we like about Coach Buddy Pugh is he's willing to try. He's willing to be bold. And so if you see 2 and 3 on the field at the same time, it could be a problem because they could swing it out to him. He could throw it down the field. They run him from the slot. They do a lot of reverses and that kind of stuff. They kind of spread things out and make it kind of interesting for Central Florida to see some stuff that you haven't seen on film yet.
You guys ended the season very well last year, beating Dion's team, Jackson State, in the Celebration Bowl. Beat them pretty handily, 31-10. How many starters do we have returning on both sides of the ball? And you guys looking to repeat again this year?
Let me be honest with you. We've got 9 starters on offense and 9 starters on defense coming back. We lost a kid in the secondary. Jalen Evans was hurt about 2 weeks ago, but the kid that replaced him started at times as well, so the number really doesn't change. His name is Kendall Mutri. He wears 21. Last year during the Jackson State game, our inside linebacker, Chad Gilchrist, was out because he didn't make the grades and couldn't play in the Jackson State game. The kid that filled in for him was Aaron Smith. Aaron Smith got an interception in the Jackson State game, and he's the starter tomorrow night at inside linebacker for us. But another kid to watch for is number 5, B.J. Davis. B.J. Davis is an angry football player. He plays like he's mad at everybody. If there's anybody throwing fists or anybody getting into something, you can bet number 5 is going to be in the middle of it. So from that standpoint, we'll hang around as long as we can hang around. And then if it gets bad late, we just want to get out of here, pick up the check and go home and stay healthy. But, we're going to try to make a football game of it.
You mentioned pick up the check and go home, but you're right back in Daytona Beach against Bethune-Cookman the following week. You're heading home? You're just staying in Central Florida?
Well, I've spent so much time in Florida. I had a daughter that played volleyball, so I was down here quite often. So I know my way well around between Daytona, Deltona, and Orlando. And but we're looking forward to coming back down here. Bethune's always a challenge. We play them every year, so we know that's going to be tough. But again, we want to represent the Mid-Eastern Athletic Conference and play well tomorrow night. And, who knows if it gets late, hopefully it will get late early for us and we'll be in the ball game in the fourth quarter.
You mentioned earlier, Coach Pugh, what makes him successful?
He's a people person. If you have an opportunity, try to have a conversation with him, because I do his coach's show. I can ask Coach one question and Coach can go for 10 minutes. I mean, he's that type of person. And, the funny thing about it was, in contrast to Deion Sanders last year with Jackson State, and I really kind of hate to bring them up, but Coach is just such a people person. He will talk to anybody. He'll spend time with you. He's that way with the players. And I think that's the thing. When you look at South Carolina State, we're not the biggest school in the state, but we constantly get kids, and those kids believe in what we're doing at South Carolina State. When you look at Jacoby Durant going to the NFL this past year, the best linebacker in the NFL, Darius Leonard, played against Central Florida the last time we played with you guys. He was here in that ball game. He played right over there at the bounce house, had 8 tackles in that ball game. Javon Hargraves, who's probably one of the highest paid nose tackles in the NFL, plays for the Philadelphia Eagles. He played at South Carolina State. Kids come to South Carolina State and understand that to say you can get anywhere from here, it's not an understatement when you come to Orangeburg to play football.
We lost Ernest there.
Did we lose Ernest?
I don't know. We'll see. Hold on. He's still
there. You are. You're back, Ernest.
Ernest is back. Ernest, we have a question from one of our listeners. Wants to know: is SC State bringing the band? Is the band going to be with you all in Orlando?
You guys couldn't hear me. I said I got a fantasy draft going on at the same time.
Oh, do you need help? What round are we in? What pick are we got?
We're round 9, and I'm down to the point where I'm
guys bringing your band.
Beg your pardon?
Are you bringing the band?
Guys bringing your band?
I'm not sure. The thing about it is it would be great if we did, because we've had to kind of do a reboot. We had a situation in years past where the band's kind of gone down, but we've got a new president and Colonel Alex Conyers, new athletics director and Keisha Campbell. And it's really a great time to be a South Carolina State Bulldog. I am so excited about our administration. We're one of these schools, unfortunately, I know a lot of folks are having problems these days. We're not having problems. We've got a great network of stations that carry South Carolina State football. I'd venture to say we probably have the largest radio network in the MEAC or the SWAC, I'm sure. We rival, a lot of folks from the standpoint of the stations that carry the games. We get great support. Hopefully we'll have some folks down here this weekend, because they only come twice. So, we're looking forward to it, but it's a great time to be a South Carolina State Bulldog.
Who did you pick first in your fantasy draft?
Well, I had the 3rd pick.
Okay.
And so I'm on the phone with another guy, and we're trying to guess who's going to pick. So I'm thinking, I said, well, I think the first pick wasn't McCaffrey, who's a pick. Anyhow, I ended up with Derrick Henry. I wanted McCaffrey, but I ended up with Derrick Henry. I mean, I couldn't turn that down, even though he's coming off an injury, but I got Joe Burrow as a quarterback. And who else did I get? I've got Adam Thielen. I've got Tyler Renfro.
I see a theme here.
Yeah. Well, hey, look, I'm trying to win. I'm an old guy. I'm about the money. I don't go for the flash and the dash. I need some production.
You didn't take Joe Burrow 2nd round, did you? I mean, you took him later in the draft.
No. I got him in like the 4th round. I got him
all right, just making sure. Make sure the value plays there.
Yeah.
Was Jonathan Taylor available to you? Because Jonathan Taylor would have been a good pick.
No, Jonathan Taylor was gone. He was gone.
And
then who knows if he's going to have that kind of year this year? I don't know if I believe that or not. But if my draft goes like it normally is, by the end of the season, half the team is different than what it was when it started.
That is certainly true.
In around the 10th pick, I did take Chris Olave.
Okay, I have him as well. Could be a sleeper for the Saints. I don't know if James can throw that far, but we'll see.
Yeah, we are.
Ernest, do you have a signature call for a touchdown, or if you guys win a ball game? Is there a signature Ernest Robinson call you have?
No, not really. It's more like touchdown Bulldogs, something of that nature. It just kind of happens. I'm one of those people. I'm old school from the standpoint of someone asked me, how do you do play-by-play? And somebody told me a long time ago, I can't think of who it was, but I pretend that the person who, in my mind, the person who's listening to the radio can't see. and I have to be the eyes for them. So you got to set the whole picture and try to draw the picture for them so they can say, I'm listening to the radio, but I can see the game. That's the ultimate compliment to a radio play-by-play person.
Well, we appreciate you spending a little bit of time during this fantasy draft that you're involved in. Ernest Robinson, voice of South Carolina State football. Be safe in all of your travels back and forth.
And if you guys should stay at the stadium tomorrow, come by the radio visiting booth and say hello. Stick your head in.
All
We
right.
have room, so you know.
Yeah, hot dog.
Do you need a color commentator? I mean, I'm available.
Let me tell you the funny thing about it. The guy who does the color commentator, information director. You know, and what people have to understand is you don't really have to know football and be an expert. You know, that's not what we do. We have a good time, and he tells the best stories. And the sad thing about it is he's really serious, but he doesn't realize how hilarious he is. But he is just hilarious to listen to on the radio.
Sounds like there's an opening. All right, I'll be there.
Thank you, Ernest.
All right, you
Have
guys
a good
take
rest
care.
of the night.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
He is built for the walk and talk already from his location. Ernest Robinson, we appreciate it.
I want to know where his fantasy draft.
He's holding his phone. He's making picks. He's talking to us. Mike with a good question, as pointed out by Robert. That was good.
I had to get out of that fantasy talk. I haven't played fantasy football in probably 10 years. I don't know even half the guys in the league anymore. And that's another one of my pet peeves. People telling me about their fantasy teams. I don't care. I do not care about your fantasy team.
Mike, the list of things that you're grumpy about. Hey, Mackenzie Milton seems to break a lot of news while we're on. Not really when he is on the show with us, but he's joining the broadcast crew that covers the Knights. He's going to be a part of the pregame show and then a select games be on-field analyst. So Mackenzie Milton is working with Mission Control, further strengthening his ties to the Knights. Certainly big ambassador for the program. So congratulations to KZ. Let's go around the kingdom real quick and then open the mailbag. 23rd ranked women's soccer 2-0-2 after Sunday's 3-1 win over Florida Gulf Coast. They play Thursday at North Florida. They welcome Ole Miss Sunday at the UCF Soccer and Track Complex. Men won they're 1-1. They won 2-1 over North Florida. They're at Florida Gulf Coast Friday, then back home Monday.
Nice comeback win, Trace, by the way. Nice comeback win.
Yeah.
And the slop, that field looked like it had been torn up. My goodness.
Yeah, it was a good comeback, but they didn't want to drop that game after taking Wake Forest to the wire there the week before. Volleyball, they open. You can find that preview on UCF Volleyball on the Sun's YouTube page. UCF Challenge Friday against Syracuse in the venue. Saturday, Kansas State, future Big 12 opponent. They are also in the venue. 4 new members to the Ring of Honor: Meg Fitzgerald, Tanya Jarvis, Delana Sarden, and Emily Watts. Congratulations to them. Let's fire up the mailbag. Which coach on deck this week?
Let's see. Let's go with this.
I'm Grant Hurd. Let's open up the Sons of UCF mailbag.
Coach Hurd, who, when you listen to that on the Sons of UCF YouTube channel, didn't really want to tell you a whole lot about the wide receivers. Wanted to keep that close to the vest, but good guy to talk with. At Black, do we have any walk and talks?
No, we don't.
No walk and talks this week. At Black_Gold_Ed. Great. It's finally the first game of 2022. How do we end up playing this FCS school on a Thursday night? No bigger FBS opponent for the Knights. That's pretty traditional, right? And you know,
I think the scheduling model has always been one FCS, 2 FBS, kind of out of conference teams. That'll change a little bit when we go to the Big 12. So non-common, but we talked about this before. Do you prefer to open up with a Boise State like we did last year, maybe a tougher game, or do you want to get your feet wet with a game and an opponent that you think you can beat? I think there's pros and cons to both, but this year, new offense, new quarterback, I think this is perfect.
I'm fine with this. Mike, at UCF Cal, over under how many hours the rain delay will be. I was talking with Christian Simmons last night about this. I set 1 hour, 15 minutes of delays. What do you like? What's your over under?
No, I don't think we're going to get any rain delay tomorrow. There's a 60% chance of rain. I don't think it's going to be anything too serious. As long as there's no lightning, I think we'll be fine. I'm hoping for none anyway. We don't want it to be too late of a night. I got work the next day.
Taking the under. At Night Fan 94, biggest surprise on the depth chart?
I'm going to throw two names out. I'm going to throw William Wells. He was a safety, played a little bit last year, played well. Obviously, I know the secondary's got some depth there. It looks like he got beat out by potentially Kobe Perry, Nakai Martinez. That was interesting. Stephen Martin as a wide receiver. I mean, obviously, we've heard a lot about Jordan Johnson. We heard a lot about Deontay Marks. To see Stephen Martin on there. A 6'5", big kid. Maybe they see him kind of in that Jacob Harris-esque role. He caught a touchdown in the spring game, but I was surprised to see him crack it. Happy for him, by the way, but surprised.
For me, it was Jason Johnson. Obviously, a lot of people were expecting to see Terrence Lewis to be there starting at linebacker. He's not even listed in the 2 deep. Is he being disciplined for stuff that happened in the offseason? Is Johnson just the starting linebacker going into the season? I think we're going to have to wait a couple weeks to find out.
By the way, that Orlando City game set to start at 7:30, now 9:22 first kick because of weather in Central Florida. At Zeebel's UCF, we alluded to this earlier. Would you rather Gus open up the playbook to get JRP comfortable or keep it simple? I think there's an answer in between there.
Yeah, again, shameless plug. We asked Leger Duzable that last night. He said basically call the plays are going to win the game. Right. And that's really what Gus's, should be. If he's purposely game planning to not run plays because he wants to save them, then we're already in trouble. Make a game plan that's going to beat the opponent. And I think the other thing he said basically is there's a misnomer that we only have a playbook of 50 plays and that's all the options we have. Every week, coaches drop something new, a new wrinkle. Mike said it earlier. Maybe it's a new action off of already a previously existing concept. So it doesn't mean there's only 10 plays and we're going to run 7 and save the other 3. A lot of it's game to game. So I think you make a game plan that's going to win. It's probably a little bit more conservative. I think you'll do over-under trick plays with Gus, Mike, 1.5. You take the over?
No, probably one trick play, an actual trick play. But yeah, I mean, he's going to run some sweeps and stuff, and that's probably going to set something else up for next week. You have O'Keefe coming over sweep. All of a sudden, he's throwing it back to Plumlee. You may not see that tomorrow, but tomorrow's game is going to set stuff up for the next game.
Mike, flip question here. 2 letters, 2 words. Robert, people focus on the offensive playbook, but for the opener, does T-Will keep it vanilla or let the guys test drive their full playbook, blitz, stunt packages? Again, I think the answer lies somewhere in between.
Yeah, I think defensively you play maybe a little bit more conservative. You don't have to bring all kinds of exotic blitzes to beat this team. That you may keep in your pocket a little bit for Louisville. You just get the guys up front to create pressure themselves. I think that should be enough. As long as we're tackling fine tomorrow, I think we'll be okay.
I don't think this is a question that we got, but let me throw it out here. How long do you play JRP?
Depends on the score, right? If we're up 30-0 at the half, I don't think he starts the second half.
Who comes out first? Mikey Keene.
Yeah, Mikey Keene will be the first guy off the bench. I'm pretty sure.
Let's say JRP gets a half. Do you do Mikey a third quarter, Thomas Castellanos fourth?
Yeah, depending on what Mikey does in that third quarter. Yeah, if we don't score at all and it's the same score, I don't know. Maybe you keep trotting him back out there, try to get him in a rhythm too. But I think we'll see a little bit of all 3.
The very loyal Brian W. Peterson with a hot take. JRP has the potential to be closer to KZ in terms of talent and big playability than any quarterback we've seen since 2018. Highs can be as high as KZ's, but lows can also look like KZ's 2016 season. Thoughts on this?
It's a great question, and I don't know the answer. I don't know if we've seen enough tape on him to understand what the min-max JRP is going to look like. I think we've seen the rushing touchdown barrage against LSU, but they were down in that game. So I don't know how they got that way. I don't know if it was to do with him. I haven't watched the full 2019 LSU Ole Miss game. Not planning on it anytime soon. So I don't really know what his floor is. I guess his floor is wildly inaccurate passing and a ton of turnovers. I mean, KZ was a little turnover prone in that first year, but he was a pretty accurate passer. He made some plays. If anything, his turnovers came from being a little too aggressive. So I guess in that case, I'd slot his floor a little bit below what we saw 2016 KZ.
Let's remember, Mackenzie Milton threw 3 interceptions against South Carolina State in 2018. Now, he already had that 2017 season, so we weren't really panicking. But just because Plumlee throws a bad one here or there, that's not the end of the world. Milton did make mistakes, too. He wasn't perfect all the time. I think we had to cut Plumlee a little bit of slack. And for his speed, even Mackenzie will tell you, Plumlee is faster than he is. And he's a bigger kid, too. I expect him to have a good game on the ground.
At Deportes Man 85, everyone talks ceiling expectation about the football season. What do you think is the team's floor, worst that they will do?
I mean, conference championship appearance is the worst. They have to be in that game. They have to be playing championship Saturday. Anything less than that is a disappointment.
It's a disappointment, but I could see it not happening. The floor is what happened last year. You lose a bad game to like Navy, you lose another game, and all of a sudden we're not even in the race going into November. If we have 2 conference losses, going into November, and Houston's already clinched the spot, that's the floor. Unfortunately,
that's the basement, man. That's the basement right there. That's below the floor, Mike. I know you're in Florida. That's the basement, though.
That's hot seat time. I mean, he loses another tough game. I'm sorry, Trace. If he loses to the Cows, that's a hot seat game. If he loses another ugly one, especially at home to Navy or some team that doesn't belong on the field with us, I don't care how good you're recruiting. That is hot seat time.
I'm with you on the Cows game, but not any of the rest. But I am with you on the Cows game. We'll wrap up the mailbag with @UCF. As a former quarterback, does KZ have an edge playing beer pong or not really because he has limited tailgating experience?
Well, now he's going to be busy, as we found out. Yeah, he's going to be busy. So I think that's a misnomer because the ping pong ball, if I have this correct, much lighter than a football. So I think early game, like first game out of the chute, I think he's going to struggle. You got to get your rhythm down. You got to get your accuracy. You got to adjust for the wind. Thing bounces off a cup lid. You got problems. I think games 4, 5, and 6, assuming he can still stand, I think that's when he kind of wears you down. Because if I think I have this right, I looked this up earlier, ping pong, much smaller than a football. So exclusive news.
I have no idea. You think he's better at beer pong than he is at cornhole? I don't know.
We should ask him about that
on the sheet?
sometime in the future. So you guys on episode 194 of the pod, getting ready for game week. And speaking of that, as Mike has taken over social media with the multiple appearances for the Suns, Mike, where can folks find you, get your autograph, get a photo with you during the game Thursday?
The tailgate tour begins tomorrow night, downtown Fort Lauderdale at the Den, formerly the Public House. I have even more exciting news. I was speaking to the guys today. Raphael, my guy that runs the whole thing, he says they're doing it bigger than ever. I mentioned the DJs during the commercial break, all that stuff. It's a party down there. He's got giveaways at halftime. They have the Funky Buddha is going to be giving out beer and doing all kinds of other giveaways. It's going to be a party. It's going to be a raucous crowd. I'm going there with a party of 9 myself. So we're going to have a nice booth set up. I am expecting a big crowd and just a fun time and a nice ball game, a nice, easy victory.
So, Adam, sober or not sober, Mike, for whatever pregame show we are talking about? Do we want to spitball that right now for folks watching? What time do we expect to go on? What would be the plan?
Yeah, I think your over-under on pregame show execution is really going to be the line. I mean, Mike's got to get there. He's got to fight traffic, get set up, meet the fans, early kick. I mean, I think we're still on the TBD list on that. Sobriety should be strong because that's an earlier call time for man. I don't like the face there. Earlier call time, so very much up in the air on this pregame show.
All right,
up in the air in doing it, or in Mike being able to join us for it.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm not bringing this whole setup. I'm not bringing the ring light. I'm not bringing this microphone. I'm not bringing the computer. I'm bringing my phone, old school style. Do it from my phone. My wife doesn't get off work till 6. I told her to be ready at 6 o'clock. We should be out the door by 6:05. I get home by 5. So as soon as I get home, it's tailgate time. I'm gonna have a couple beers. I got a couple beers in the refrigerator.
So the over under on sobriety changes.
I need everyone who's listening right now in the chat. Give me a yes no answer if the pregame show happens. Yes if you think it happens, no if you think it doesn't. Go ahead, Mike.
Well, it's gonna happen. You guys are at least gonna do it. Whether I pop in for the whole time or for 5 minutes, that's to be determined, I guess. But it'll depend on the connection we have there. I don't know.
Yeah, that's a big variable. Our meteorologist Evan Page with a note.
No.
Adam, we're talking what 6:15 going on and talking a little football.
Well, what's your availability? I know for those who don't know, again, let's peel the curtain back. The curtain's behind Trace right now. You know, there are a lot of competing priorities in all of our lives.
I could turn my laptop right now and I'd show you the gentleman working on the setup in this conference room right now.
Yes, a lot of things. A lot of things happening. So Trace is out of town on work right now. So, are you going to be available, Trace, is the key question. Because I don't think anyone wants to talk to me for 45 minutes.
I should be available. By that
Okay.
time. I just want to cut out a little bit early to dial up the plus and be able to watch it. This is the only game I'm planning on missing. I have this annual work conflict because UCF slots this game on a Thursday instead of Saturday. If it were Saturday,
if you're not expecting kickoff until after 8:30, I mean, you guys can stay on live until 8:15. Do an hour and a half pregame.
Watch Mike go completely 3 sheets for the course of the pregame.
Yeah, I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, I won't be live anyway.
And then we come together. It doesn't happen much. I mean, people talk to me all the time. You guys hang out. You guys hang out all the time. We live in different places, but we come together on that Friday in a game against Louisville with a big tailgate extravaganza out at the Bounce House.
Yes, that is correct. We will be out near Iowa Plaza, right there by the concert tailgate stage where the Dave Matthews cover band will be. Right there. You can see Night Walk from there. You can see all the festivities. I think we can get access about 3:00-ish that day. So come by for 5 minutes, 5 hours. I don't know. Who knows? 5 minutes, 5 hours. Bring some fun. We'll have some shirts. We're working on some giveaway items, as Mike mentioned. We've got maybe a sponsor or two that's going to help us out with some stuff. So it'll be a good time. Swing by. Trace will be there. Mike will be there. How many times have the three of us actually all been in the same space at the same time? I don't count games where we're not like,
right?
That's one. Is there a second?
What was that one?
Last year's tailgate.
Yeah, and then no, we didn't at the Cal game. We all hung out at the alumni center for like a couple minutes before
He's
the
right.
game.
He's right.
2 games.
Twice in a year, and then Louisville, and then at FAU, back to back.
That's right. Yeah, and the FAU tailgate, that is going to be, like I said the other night, a bonanza. That's going to be crazy. Well, all 3 events are going to be nuts. Tomorrow night's going to be a great time. The Louisville tailgate is going to be out of control with the Dave Matthews bands in the background playing for us. And the FAU tailgate, I don't know when we're revealing this big secret that we have, but that's going to be.
We got to lock that down.
It feels like a lot going on, right? I'm not so
sure around that.
Secret would be happening anymore. We got to check back on that.
Guys, football season is upon us. By the way, good job, Mike, including UConn in that pick'em. Okay, a lot of people took an L there. Okay,
about 100 of us lost that game. What do you want me to do? UConn. I mean, did UConn step up, or is Utah State that bad? I mean, that's to be determined. I took Utah State.
Some people took UConn and got a win, though?
Like 18 people,
Yeah, about 18 people took you. I mean, out of 118.
Whoa. So I'm tied with you.
Yeah, we're all tied.
You're hanging with me at this point.
We spotted those people a point. It's no big deal.
Want to thank Drew Johnson, covering UCF for Elite Empire Athletes and Inside the Knights as well. Ernest Robinson, the voice of South Carolina State football. Want to thank you as well for carving an hour out of your lives this week on a Wednesday. We return to our usual Thursday time slot, 8 to 9. We're going to be recapping the South Carolina State game and previewing Louisville, talking more about the tailgate extravaganza out at the Bounce House. We got a big one coming up, everybody. For Adam and Mike, I'm Trey Strelko. Go Knights!
This is a fast one. You have to listen really quickly because this guy talks fast.
Jeremiah, thank you for watching Sons of UCF.
He's a quick soundbite machine.
3-second